I welcome you all, basketball degenerates, to another episode of the Pass First, Shoot Later podcast brought to you by the OC Basketball League. I'm your host, Zico Pepic, here with my co-hosts, Michael Van Wyck and Omar Alvedine. And Omar is consistent as they can be right now. Omar, way to go, man. How many steps you at now?
At like 7,000, I think.
We're gonna have to change the name of this podcast to Walk First, Talk Later.
Right?
Get them
How's,
steps.
how's training going, Omar?
It's going good. I mean, I am seeing results, but it is tough, especially with work. It's really hard. But, I'm trying to maintain, trying to balance things out. And tonight's one of those nights where I always get caught on the treadmill late night during the podcast because I have to make up.
I actually, obviously, I don't have any kids yet. I know, Mike, you're well into the game at this point with 4 kids. Omar just had a son who's at this point close to a year old, right, Omar?
Yeah, he's about 10 and a half months right now.
Okay, so I told my family whenever I do have a son, like I want like one of the gifts to be for me, and I want them to get me one of those strollers. It's like the runner stroller. So like I'll make sure I'm staying active, running with my kid.
All the gifts are for you. When you register, they're all for you. I tried to convince
Exactly.
Xbox. She wasn't. She said that's a little too far.
But definitely makes up because with those walks, I actually take him on his stroller and we actually go for miles and we'll walk on the weekend.
There you go, man.
Because
That's awesome.
it doesn't stop during the week. Marcus got me walking Sunday through Sunday. So
Speaking of gifts, today is a special day, right?
absolutely. Absolutely. We weren't going to start this show without at least telling Zico
Happy birthday.
happy birthday.
Thank you guys. Thank you. Another year older gets worse and worse, doesn't it?
Closer to that big milestone number, right?
Yeah, I'm 39 now.
There you go.
Yeah, I know. Getting close to 40. But I feel good. No complaints. I'm not one of those guys that complains about my age too much. I might make a joke here or there, but I wear it like a badge of honor.
I just tell people I look old. Oh, gray hairs.
For our fans, just remember once Zico hits 40, he's going to create a 40 and over league.
Never. No. And if I do, it'll be a 35 and year over league, not a 40 and over league. So I do like having that option though. I'm not gonna lie. Having a 35 and over league, I think, is a good option for some of the older guys who, once you hit your 40s, it is a little harder to stick with some of these 22-year-old athletes who are just blowing by everybody and jumping over everybody. Like trying to chase Dwayne Lee at this point is I think it's out of my skill set these days. So yeah, it would be a lot easier, if you're playing 35 and over and guys close to your age. So I think it is good having that option, and definitely something the league will have down the line.
Speaking of chasing older guys with younger guys,
Wait, what?
we're talking about older guys chasing younger guys today, right?
That's right. That's right. Today's episode is actually going to be about father-son duos, which you ought to, right off the top of your head, you're going to think probably like Steph Curry and his dad, and the Barrys, Klay Thompson, Michael Thompson. But there's a certain father-son duo that's in the news quite a bit, and the son hasn't even made it to the NBA yet. So Omar, I'm going to let you jump onto this one since this is the conversation you thought we should have, and bring everyone up to speed.
Well, yeah, definitely. We got to talk about LeBron and Bronny. There's a lot of quotes going around where LeBron mentioned earlier that his son was good enough, better than some of the guys in the NBA that can help teams win. And then today I saw an article where Bron basically was trying to defend his son, telling him let him be a kid, let him enjoy his college season and not put that pressure. But at the end of the day, LeBron, you brought that target onto Bronny's back when you made that comment that he was better than some guys in the NBA. And currently his team's record and his performance, his stat line doesn't speak to support that statement by his pops.
I think it's interesting timing because I did send you guys just this last week. Um, and I'm not one to pick on these young athletes. I'm not trying to, but Bronny had a game where he literally finished the game with 0 points. Um, he didn't do much of anything else on the court that night either. I feel bad for a lot of these young guys. I worry about what the media does to them. They put a lot of pressure on these kids, and it's not surprising to me when some of them fail. And I'm not saying Bronny's going to fail, but his own dad was the one that put that pressure on him, and I can't help but feel sorry for him. Like that's hard, and here we are, we're talking about, Mike's got 4 kids, Omar, you have a son, and I hope one day I have a son, and you want like your child to be the best of the best. You hope for that. And when they get put in a situation that's stressful and difficult, I can understand why a parent's going to go and defend them. It's just hard when LeBron was the one putting that pressure on to start. He did say that. He said that Bronny could compete with and do better than some of the players in the NBA today. And here he is at the college level, and a game like that happens. So it's
So
a tough spot.
So not looking out at everything. There are so many things that when you say something, it's okay. When somebody else says something, it's not. Like I can say things about my kids, 2 boys, the 2 girls. I can say they're this or they're that, but that can't come from somebody else and not have me get defensive, right? And that goes for anything. And obviously, LeBron has to know that he's in a public spotlight, so it's going to be different things he says, especially in regard to basketball, is going to put that target there. So he should have known that. He should know better than that. But at the same time, when you're a parent, you're not going to think that way. Someone asks you, and you're going to be like, yeah, of course my kid can do it. I mean, look at, and I hate to bring his name up, but look at what LeVar Ball did with all of the Ball brothers. And it's just like you say these things and you're defending your kid, but then if somebody else says something negative, then you're going to go, let's leave them alone. Let's not talk about that. Let's not go there. And we also got to remember the kid's coming off of cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. That's true. The cardiac arrest, surgery, him coming back by itself is a blessing, being able to play this season. But we can't go an episode without saying that. But I want to touch on LeVar Ball and the Ball brothers.
That's probably the worst use of that.
Huh?
That's probably the worst use of that line.
But at the end of the day,
who did you want to touch on?
well, speaking of the Ball brothers and LeVar Ball, a lot of people were against.
How many Ball were there?
These LaMelo, Lonzo, and Jello.
So
But
3 balls. 3 balls that you want to touch on.
Three brothers. But Zico, way to try to set me up for that, but good try. At the end of the day, they actually led their high school teams, right? They were that guy on the team. Like even Jello, even though he played second fiddle to his brother, he still was the second leading scorer on the team, and sometimes the leading scorer depending on the game. These guys actually led their teams. Bronny wasn't the best player on Sierra Canyon, and not knocking him because I like the kid, I like his game. I think he has great IQ, great athleticism, but you can't compare that. LeVar did what any father would do.
Well, I
don't know about that. Like, there's not a lot of fathers that went and did what. Sorry, Mike, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Yeah, we were saying the same exact thing. LeVar Ball said some outlandish things. It's just absolutely insane. And now I agree, most parents are going to go to bat for their children and say, hey, they're great. They can do this. They're the best player on their team. But to talk about, just the easiest example, saying Lonzo Ball was better than Steph Curry, that's just crazy.
Well, we live in a world of clickbait. You guys got to keep that in mind. We live in a world of clickbait, and he just knew how to take advantage of it. He was in the news. His kids were the most talked about.
I completely agree. Everything he did as far as from a market side of things He put his kids front and center. I think that had an impact on LiAngelo's career because I think had he kept, at UCLA and maybe stayed with it, maybe he would have done more. I don't know. But when you look at that, you're absolutely right. As far as staying in the spotlight, staying relevant, hate him or love him, he was there. But a lot of that too was because of where he lived. You're also in the Los Angeles area. You are in the Chino area, and they start talking about that. And we hear more about LA based anything than anything else. And as soon as Lonzo got shipped out and all of them were out of LA, you heard a lot less about it. Granted, there's other things that went into play. He got hurt. They wanted to bury the news about Jello.
But what is there to talk about? At the end of the day, he has 2 kids in the NBA with multi-million-dollar deals. He has a son who's now playing overseas again. I mean, what else do you want?
No, and he had a kid in the NBA already when he was still talking all this nonsense. But again, I completely agree. He did all the right steps to keep his kids relevant, whether good, bad, or indifferent. But I don't think that that's what LeBron's trying to do. I don't think he went and said, "Oh yeah, Bronny could come onto the Lakers and we'd win a championship right now because he's better than Anthony Davis." He didn't say that. He said there's some guys in the league that he could play over and contribute, and I'm sure that is. I'm sure there are players at the end of a bench that he think. I mean, he goes, "What Max?"
Well, name somebody that
I don't. I
he's
don't
right
think there
now.
is.
No,
Mike. I
I'm
don't think
saying
there's.
I agree with it, but again, you guys always want to talk about NBA players and what they say means more than what we say. Well, he said it, and granted, it's about his kid, but I'm not saying that Bronny can go in and do stuff right now because I don't think he's at that level yet. Realistically, the one who's going to have a better career is the younger sibling. I think Bryce is going to be a monster.
I agree with that.
The way he's developed, the way his size is, he's more closer to what an NBA style player is. Bronny he could get an NBA. I mean, he's still a kid. Like again, he's coming off of cardiac arrest. Maybe he gets better. Maybe he's a serviceable guy. His teammates have played in the league. His friends have played in the league. Obviously, his dad has played and had a tremendous career, so he has the insight. He knows how to get there. LeBron's tweet today was hard work is all that matters in getting there. He has the talent level. He's just got to work. Is he going to come in and be a superstar? Is he going to be a Dwayne Wade type player? No, not in my opinion.
He's definitely not a one and done.
No, and that was probably the funniest tweet I saw all week. I'm sure you guys have seen it. It was a tweet with his stat line, and it said, "Should Bronny go back to USC for one more season?" And the first comment was, "I think he should go back for 3 more years and start thinking about finding a good job."
See,
But
that's what I'm saying though. That's like where I feel bad. Like, imagine you're Bronny and like that's what you read. Like you can't help but feel bad for a kid in that situation. Like every kid has the aspirations of doing something great, whether they want to be a professional athlete or whatever it might be. And for him to have that dream and to be living in his father's shadow and then deal with all this, like had he been just another player, never had to deal with that.
nope, you never would have heard about it. And I mean, he's an 18-year-old kid, right? That's a lot, and he's had that spotlight, and he's grown up in that spotlight. And if you look at majority of the superstar players, their kids don't pan out into superstar players. That's just the nature of it. So,
That's because the expectations put on them and the pressure early on.
yep, I completely agree. I think this whole with this whole thing with LeBron putting the target on his back and saying, I agree with that, but the target was on his back since birth because he was LeBron James Jr., right?
Mike, you did say something really interesting right now, which I think is a really good conversation to have. Superstar players generally don't have a kid who turns out to be a superstar, pans out to be. I actually think we should maybe even go through this list because we are going to go through some of the father-son duos and see which duo. Like, there's obviously going to be a player who's going to be really good, like obviously LeBron and Steph. But which combination was the best from the father and the son having as great of a career as possible?
If
There's
you
a lot
took,
of guys.
both, are you saying you take both father and son in their prime and play 2-on-2 on the list?
Yeah, because that's what I'm saying. Like, I think this could be a really fun conversation if we look at some of these because there's a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys, and like we
There,
might have to take positions out of this because, like, I know, like,
Well,
like,
I'm going Shaq and Sharif. I'm going Shaq and Sharif.
but
You
see,
can't
that's what
guard
I'm
them
saying though. Like, like Shaq's the elite one there. Sharif isn't. Sharif didn't have the career. Like, example being like Michael Thompson and Klay Thompson might be the top of this list when you consider in their prime, they're two of the greats at their times.
Dell and Steph, and they have a sub.
Yeah, but was Dell as great of a player as Michael
Oh,
Thompson was? Like,
Dell was a shooter.
I know, but see, Michael Thompson was the number one pick in the draft. He was the rookie of the year. He was a 20 and 10 player.
He was also a big in a time where big made a difference. I mean,
Right.
and he's that's the reason Jordan didn't get drafted number one. It's because it was a big man league. It was different.
because of Sam Bowie.
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 Nobody cares what his real name is. We all know how that worked out. Bowie.
Yeah,
Bottom line is
that's the
Jordan
curse
don't
of
want.
Portland in drafting big men.
Yeah. I mean, I go through this list and yeah, those are where you're at, right? You got the Currys and you got the O'Neills.
The Thompsons,
Who?
Clay and Michael Thompson.
Yeah, the Thompsons. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, you could also say the best defending duo is the Paytons. They're gonna lock up anybody. We talking about, if we're eliminating positions, right? Because at the end of the day, Shaq is the most dominant out of that whole list.
Right.
His son didn't make his son made it to the G League to the Ignite, and his son was still 6'9", who could stretch the floor, who could put the ball on the ground. With the dominant Shaq, there's nobody really that can guard them.
Right.
Don't
Yeah, again, like that's the same thing. Like, you're gonna have LeBron on this list. You have Kobe on this list. You have Steph on this list. So
Yeah,
there's
but-
guys that are elite, but then their father or their kid isn't.
Well, if you're going to include Bronny in this conversation, he's not in the league. Then you
Yeah.
have to include Michael Jordan and Marcus Jordan.
Right.
Even though Marcus didn't make it to league, he still played Division I basketball.
we're talking guys in the league. I'm not considering Bronny on this list yet, but you
Yeah.
know you can't.
I guess the best combination is the Sabonis's.
That's what I
Two
was
bigs,
right now. The
two
Sabonis.
bigs with the highest basketball IQ, who could
That's
shoot
a
the
good
mid range.
Yeah.
But still, I'm gonna hold off on that, like, because again, like
Arvidas,
Clay and Michael Thompson.
but
in their
Arvidas
prime.
Sabonis.
No, take the Sabonis in Europe when he came to the NBA late in his
Yeah,
career.
I know.
But I mean,
So the earliest Sabonis will kill everybody that you're talking about right now.
But again, Arvidas Sabonis, even in the NBA, is the reason that Shaq changed his game from an athletic running to a bigger, heavier player because he was tired of Sabonis pushing him around. I mean, even at that time, he was still there guarding Shaq.
Yeah.
And a guy that can guard those bigs and still stretch them out. Shaq can't go camp in the lane on a 2-on-2 and be help side because Sabonis can hit that three. I mean, he was a stretch five before there were stretch fives.
Yeah, I agree with that. I only meant from the standpoint of, again, like Clay in his prime, one of the greatest shooters of all time, and then Michael Thompson at that time was one of the best bigs in the league. Like, that combination's tough is all I meant.
And I agree, and I know they're NBA players, so this next comment's going to sound kind of silly, but it's 2-on-2 with the Thompsons. Who's creating the shot for them?
Yeah, that's
Best
true.
shoot
But
guy.
again, I'm not thinking necessarily
Inside out and moving without the
Yeah.
ball.
But what
Clay
I'm saying
proved that
is,
he
like,
could score 60 with only 11 dribbles. Remember?
playing 2-on-2 versus like just being like the best combination, like the highest skilled one. I still think the Thompsons might edge that one out.
If you're talking about careers and prime career numbers, and you're just putting together the numbers and saying in a seamless how they played in 5-on-5 is the same, then most likely, if you're looking at accolades and careers, it's probably the Thompsons. as far as combined. Yeah, but if you were, I'm talking about if they were both in their prime playing 2-on-2, I would probably go with the Sabonises because they were both good. They can both play. They can both shoot. They're outside. Sabonis can dribble and set people up. Yeah, and like you were saying with Clay and 11 dribbles, that's because he was running off screens and moving without the ball is one thing in a 5-man game where you can run off 3 screens and not touch the ball handler. It's different when it's
Touch what?
the ball handler. Yeah, that's real. So that's different than playing 2-on-2 where you can go pick and roll, but again, you're going pick and roll. One of them has to be the dribbler and creating it. I think it's different, but that's 2-on-2 is not really 5-on-5 basketball. We all know that.
Yeah, I agree, and I think those are two different conversations. I think we should definitely mention both. I think I agree. In a 2-on-2 situation, I think the Sabonis are winning this.
But this is a huge list. Like I had no idea there were
Yeah,
this.
it's big. Another one that actually a lot of people won't know very much about, but is actually the Maravich family because Pistol Pete obviously is one of the all-time greats. I don't think people realize how great his dad was too. Balkan people know about him, though, like they talk about that history with them quite a bit. But his dad was just an absolute mastermind of an IQ basketball.
Did his dad play in the NBA?
Did, yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
But like dudes that are like, I had no idea Melvin Booker was a person who played in the NBA who was Devin Booker's dad, right?
Or the old school player Jeff Taylor and his son Jeff Taylor.
Yeah, like I'll tell you what though, if you need to hang something up or you need Christmas lights, call over Manute and Bol.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Well,
actually
you know what? You know what? I'm going to talk about somebody whose dad played in the NBA, but they never made it to the NBA. But they're one of the greatest father-son duos to ever play college basketball, and that's Steve Burt and Steve Burt Jr., one
there
and
you
two
go.
all-time leading scorers at Iona.
There you go. That's a good combination. Shout out to Steve Burt. He's a phenomenal player. Played in our league. It was super fun watching him play, and he's playing out overseas right now. So
At
that's
the age of 39, Zico. So there's still hope, bro.
my ship sailed a long time ago, man. I
Talk
was always a
about
good
somebody
point
that
guard.
stayed game ready.
Omar, I was always a good point guard, but I'm not one to put myself in the same category as Steve Burt. So
No, I know he's definitely a pros pro. He's a pros pro for somebody to be able to produce at that age, still producing at the level he is. He always stayed in shape, took care of his body, was always ready for that call.
the closest I ever came, which Omar knows about this, I don't know if Mike knows, is I played FIBA 3-on-3, FIBA basket tournaments in the summer, and I played in a tournament with like 120 teams, and I was playing against dozens of professionals, and these are all like the Balkan point guards who are all like 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", and in that tournament, I actually held my own. I think that was one of the best summers I had of basketball ever. And we got down to the top 8 teams. I had a super elite big man. I had the best big man in the tournament on my team. But that was the closest I ever came to doing something that would be relevant. And that was over 10 years ago. And it was also outdoor. So it took me like an entire summer to recover from the pain I put on my body. But yeah, still not even close to Steve Burt's level.
And that 3-on-3 basketball they play is no joke.
No, no.
I mean, then the Currys will dominate. You got 3 shooters that will just keep on running nonstop.
They're too little.
Well, I mean, actually, I'm going to mention the Thompsons again because we often forget about the third Thompson, Michael, who was also in the NBA. He was more of a defensive player, but he was a little taller than Clay. And I actually played against him when he was at Santa Margarita. He played for the Cleveland Cavaliers with LeBron James for I think about 3 or 4 seasons. So they would have a 3-on-3 team as well.
They'd have a good baseball team too.
That's right. Yeah. The third Thompson played for the Dodgers. I'm not sure if he's playing right now for anybody, but Yeah, he did play for the Dodgers for a few years, and I thought that was pretty cool. I do know Michael Thompson and his son Michael, and I think that was probably the coolest thing ever. I don't think there's anything a dad could possibly want more than to see not one but all his sons reach the NBA, and sure
Talk to
LeVar.
LeVar Ball.
Yeah, LeVar's got to be proud. That's something else. Like, LeVar takes a lot of flack, for the way he talked about his sons. But at the same time, it's definitely really cool that your dad is that involved, cares that much, is that supportive of you, and wants the best for you. So he was really loud about it, but you have to respect that he was there and was doing as much as he did, because there's a lot of dads like my dad. I love my dad to death, but like my dad worked so much, like he couldn't come to. I could count on one hand how many games he came to watch just because he just couldn't make it. So
But if we're gonna give credit for dads and getting their kids to the NBA, we can't take away the credit from the Holiday father, Aaron, Justin, and Drew Holiday. All three made it to the NBA. Got to give credit for that too.
their dad, I think, was a track athlete though. He wasn't in the NBA, right?
Do we, changing topics kind of, do we blame LeVar for messing up Lonzo's feet using those triple B shoes?
He did mess up his knee though. That's the hard part. It's like,
But how much of it do we really, really know is the reason behind the shoes?
I
yeah.
I don't know, but there's enough people that have said a lot of things about it.
But I also know people that bought those shoes and wore them for 2 years and played in them and had no issues. So I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of guys playing with different shoes now. Like, Kyrie and Clay have Antas.
The Antas, the Lings. You know what I'm saying? Like all these shoes that are coming from China,
Yeah, but
they're all manufactured in the same manufacturing as Nike and Adidas and all that.
it's still not a garage brand that you rush to get out and try to make this
Well,
big.
Mike, how much is it a hatred to LeVar that they're actually blaming it on the shoes?
Oh, I have no idea. That's why I asked you guys your opinion. I don't think. Listen, I don't think playing in a pair of shoes is going to completely injure you and ruin your career. I mean, and I know it's a different.
Come on, they played in Chuck Taylor's back in the day.
That's
Yeah.
what I was going to say. I know it's a different game. I know it's a different era. I know it's different styles. I know it's a lot more athletic now. But these dudes were playing in Chuck Taylors.
Yeah, you know what? Something else kind of pops into my head. If you guys remember when Derek Shoe had I think it was his second signature shoe that came out. He had a camp, and him and Kobe were at that camp. And when Derek was announcing those shoes, Kobe was actually being recorded saying, "Don't buy those shoes. They will destroy your feet." Like he was sitting there bashing his shoes, and he had a pair because I guess Derek had given him one. And he flat out was sitting there bashing him. He's like, "Don't wear them. Don't do this." And like literally
Derek who?
Derek Rose. That was the year Derek Rose blew his knee out. That was the year
Yeah,
he was.
but keep in mind that Kobe was also on beefing with Adidas too.
Of course, but like it's kind of ironic that literally that year was, that Derek had his severe knee injury that, derailed his career entirely. So I think shoes could play a factor to it. I think Mike might have something on like there to talk about where shoes could have derailed a player's career. But it's hard. It's hard with Lonzo. He had a lot of injuries. It wasn't one. It was like piling up. And Michael Thompson has said this many times, and he's told me this as well. And I'm a multi-sport athlete. I played soccer, I played volleyball, I ran track, and I do a lot of biking. I also do a lot of running, and I walk a lot. And Michael Thompson said that he would tell his sons in the off season not to play basketball, go play a different sport, work different muscles, do things like that. Because when you're playing one sport over and over and over again, you're going to overwork certain muscles. And when you think about like the LeVar Balls, I'm sorry, the Balls, like they were only playing basketball since they were little kids. And they might have overworked some of those muscles that caused some of these injuries. And, the youngest one is LaMelo is injured right now. He's constantly hurt. He's been in
And that's a common thing that you hear nowadays is injuries have increased over the last, decade or so. And a lot of it is what you said is the fact that these kids are not playing multi-sports. If you look at the multi-sport athletes, their bodies hold up, different muscles help, different actions. And it's just like a car. It goes in the same direction, same motion, same everything over and over and over and over. It breaks down. Same thing with a body. And that's what happens with today's generation. They're playing basketball year round, training, same movement, same cuts, same drills versus guys that played, credit to LeBron. LeBron played football in high school, not just basketball. So he's developed different muscles. It plays a big factor.
Yeah, and he does all kinds of training in the off season, and I think that's actually really good for players. And I think that's something that worries me. That worries me just about this new generation of kids, just because when we were kids, we were always outside, right? How much do you remember as a kid, like going outside and just like playing handball against your garage or playing dodgeball with all the neighbors and having water balloon fights outside? Like we were outside doing something, playing wiffle ball. You guys remember wiffle ball?
Yeah,
The
and
kids,
that's what I
my
was gonna
brother doesn't know what wiffle ball is. My brother's 13 years younger than me. He doesn't know what wiffle ball is.
you can play a sport year round. I agree with you guys to an extent if that's all you're doing, but like you just said, Zico, you can do other things that aren't necessarily a sport. Like you don't have to take time to go play baseball, but if you're running around outside, you're playing with your friends, you're running on grass, you're running on different surfaces, you're doing all these things, then yeah, you're not overworking the same muscle. I think the biggest thing that's lost, and people start to realize it too late, and you listen to all of these older guys and they'll tell you, but kids don't listen, is they're not putting in the proper time going through stretching and warming up. And to watch some people that just and I did it too when I was you just run out and play. And it's like if you take the time and you build the habits as a kid to stretch, kids don't need to stretch. They don't even have fully formed ligaments, right? But take the time to get in those habits, you're going to extend whatever you're doing with your body. Your career will be longer, your injuries will be less, your health is going to be there. And it's like just take the time to do those things because you are putting strain on your body. And not only are they playing more often, but again, it's more athletic. When you jump higher, you have to land from higher, and that's more impact on your body. So I think that goes, I think the stretching plays a huge role, and kids just don't do it. They think it's just time to mess around, something that, oh, okay, coach is going to make the stretch. And they're not really there stretching. They're just going through the motion.
I agree with that. As a person who used to just go out there and just play whenever I could, to a person who now is obsessed with stretching, I really wish I would have gotten into stretching, 5 years sooner. I think I'd have a lot less pain today if I would have. I think it's definitely very important for everybody to do that, get warmed up properly, and those are good habits. It's good habits to teach kids, early on, just so they understand the importance of it, even if their ligaments haven't fully formed. It's just the habits, and it'll help them later on. And unfortunately, we didn't have those things weren't as important back then. But the way the game has changed now, it has to be. So
They were
I agree.
less studied, less known about.
Yeah. Before we get back into the father-son duos, we were talking about shoes, and I just have to mention, have you guys looked at Devin Booker's new shoe? Because I actually really like it. I didn't get a pair. I tried to, and it sold out quickly.
Those sold out real quick, but they don't look like a typical basketball shoe.
No, they don't. But actually, probably my favorite all-time shoes are Air Force Ones. I've never not had at least one pair of Air Force Ones, and they kind of have that little look to it, but
They're like a basketball version of the Air Force One.
yeah. Which, but ironically, people used to play in Air Force Ones.
I was going to say, but Air Force Ones were, but it's
Yeah.
always was playing.
Yeah, but this is like a new technology. Like you could tell. But it's crazy because another shoe that I've been trying to get is the Anthony Edwards, and those have been selling out like crazy. And it's shocking.
You got to find the ugly colors. Buy the ugly colors that nobody wants.
Another pair of shoes that look really nice. I don't think you could really wear them for hooping, but the Adidas Fear of God. combination, the basketball shoes, those look really good too. I don't think you could play in them. I think they look more like their lifestyle shoes, but they're selling them as basketball shoes. I don't know if you guys have seen those or not. Those look really nice. No, crickets.
I haven't seen them. I gotta look them up.
Try to
Well,
avoid,
at least one listener has seen them. I'll send them to you guys though.
I try to avoid looking at shoes.
I know. I try to as well, but sometimes it's hard not to.
I get too many. I get yelled at. I get looks. I gotta
All
sell
right. Back to father son duos since we derailed from this conversation. One, since we're talking about LeBron, one interesting father son duo is somebody who LeBron played against in his very first game and is now playing against his son, Jabari Smith Jr. Jabari Smith was a player for the Sacramento Kings in LeBron James' first official NBA games. LeBron James got to play against his father. There was a video, I think, I don't know if it was last year. It was last year where, Jabari goes up to him and tells him like, "Hey man, you played against my dad in like the first game, in your first ever game." So it's a real testament to LeBron's longevity. It's also pretty cool for a kid to have an opportunity to play against someone that their dad did. What do you guys think about that?
It's everything you just said. It's a testament to how long LeBron's been in the league. He destroyed this kid's dad, and then he gets to destroy this kid, right? Yeah, I mean that's cool.
That's
Another
cool. I like how Mike said it very, very calmly. Like, yeah, it's cool.
Another father-son duo that actually had a video surface recently is a father-son duo. I think that's a pretty cool one right now because they are working together. And that is Jalen and Rick Brunson. Rick Brunson is the assistant coach for the New York Knicks. Jalen Brunson is the starting point guard for that team. First time All-Star. Jalen Brunson is absolutely killing it. I don't think he is going to be, but he's actually named as an MVP candidate right now. The Knicks have been playing really well, obviously. And there was a video that came out of how his dad was training him when he was younger and all the drills he's forcing him to do and just like repetitive stuff over and over and over again. Do the same move till it's perfect. And now you're looking at Jalen Brunson, who is a 6 foot guard, scoring 27, 28 points a game with all absolutely amazing footwork, absolutely amazing body control. It's pretty cool to see something like that, and I know it's something that every dad hopes to have an opportunity to do with their kid, where they could run them through drills and do things like that.
Yeah, obviously not on that level, but with my two boys, they're playing basketball now, and the few times they do listen and want to actually go through things, it's a lot of fun to do stuff like that. You always hope it turns out, for the best. But what Jalen Brunson doing? I haven't seen the drills or at the ages he started at, but going through those things and seeing that hard work pay off, it's like that's the stuff you want to show to kids. It's like if you can get on this where you're putting in the work, you can get to that level, right? And there have been very few guards that can score that many that easily. The way he's going about it, I always revert back to Tony Parker as far as footwork and getting where you need to be and ball handling. But Jalen Brunson's doing. He's not going to be the MVP. We all know that, but yeah, what he's doing is fantastic.
Omar, any father-son duo that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I think there's one we should talk about since he's been in the news lately. Is Doc Rivers and Austin Rivers.
Lucky Austin, he's not the one in the news.
You said what?
Luckily, Austin's not the one in the news.
Exactly. But he is coming to defend his father when JJ Redick had words.
I was going to say,
Trying to
he
say-
was in the news, right? Didn't he say something?
Yeah, he did respond back to JJ Redick defending his father. But then again, we all know Doc Rivers did save Austin's career. When he was about to be out of the league, he did sign him to the Clippers.
I think Gilbert Arenas had the best take on Doc Rivers.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah,
Well,
I thought that was absolutely golden. For those of you who didn't see it, he sat there and pretended to be Milwaukee Bucks management and basically tried reading through Doc Rivers' resume and deciding if they want to hire him or not. And I thought that was absolutely priceless. Mike, did you see that?
yes, I did. It was pretty great. And I know there's a lot of people who like Doc Rivers. I think a lot of people gave him a lot more credit than he deserved when he was in Boston. Um, you still can't take away completely. I mean, the guy's been a coach in the league. He's gotten teams to the playoffs. Um,
To the finals, you got to give him credit for that.
yeah, I mean, and he has had very talented teams though. And Zico, you sent us the thing today where you listened to Kenya Martin talking about Denver. It's
Oh,
like,
that's another father-son duo that we didn't
and
talk about.
but one of the things is at the end of the day, if you have enough talent, it's pretty hard to not get them into the playoffs. I mean, losing a championship, not getting over that hill, that comes down to having all of the necessary items, but a talented roster can get you pretty far, right? And I think Doc Rivers has always just been carried by those rosters.
It's it's kind of tough sometimes though, because I feel like there's also coaches who have had talented rosters and failed miserably with them. So, there are two sides to this, but it's hard because Doc keeps getting hired into those positions almost as if he's like a Phil Jackson who's going to, bring everything
Take the team,
together.
take the team over the top.
Right. And so I don't know. Like I really, from Milwaukee standpoint, I really think they messed up by firing Budenholzer. I didn't get it. Unless there was something serious going on with Giannis and Budenholzer that it had to be addressed. But I still felt like even when they hired Adrian Griffin, there was so many other options. Like it didn't make sense from the standpoint of if they were rebuilding, if they were going to trade Giannis, then I agree, hire Adrian Griffin. He's a first-time coach. It's like no problem. Like it's a guy you grow with. If you're trying to go for a championship and you trade for Dame and you do all these things and then you hire Adrian Griffin, like I think that was where things just started bad, which by the way, I think Adrian Griffin's son plays in the league. Adrian Griffin Jr. plays for the Atlanta Hawks. Just mention that one as well. Um, it was just I didn't get it. I think that's not necessarily a coaching situation. That's an organizational issue. And I could see Doc coming in somewhere and sweet talking the hell out of him and getting the position because they sit there and they're just loving him while they're having a conversation with him and not thinking about the X's and O's and will it bring him a title or will it not? So
He walks in with that ring on, and that's all they see.
yeah. But I mean, even before that ring, like he got that Boston job before he got that ring. So how did he get that? He walked in there and sweet talked his way into it. So
Yeah, but that Boston team that he took over early on did not have championship.
right, but he got the position. So like that's what I'm saying. Like there's guys I think that walk in there and get a position like just because they have charisma, like and I think
Well,
Doc
you can't take away from his career too as a player.
right.
See, that plays a factor. So those early jobs that he had came off the fact that he was successful in his playing career. Now, obviously, he's coaching. So, but since we talked about Gilbert Arenas, that's another father-son duo that you're going to see here in the near future. His son
It's like who
Elijah is really, really good, and definitely will probably make it to the league.
And Gilbert Arenas' prime was no joke.
yeah.
I mean, it was short-lived, but he could go.
Yeah.
Even Gil would tell you his son has more offensive weapons and skill than he did.
Almost all these kids do now. I mean, they develop and they learn things and they grow and it's trained and they, yeah. I mean, you can look at that through any generation. Typically, the kid should know more, right?
I think some of that has to do with the parent. Like when the parent goes through, like I'm sure Gilbert Arenas has some things where he has his own regrets. Like, oh man, if I would have just done this, I would have been a better player or whatever it is. And he's actually talked about that. You know, he talked when he was actually talking about Kobe, like when he talked about work ethic and all those things, and he didn't have that. He wishes he would have had that. Well, when you have a kid, what's the one thing you're gonna try and instill? It's like the things that you know you lacked. So a kid like him is definitely gonna have those attributes that his father didn't, because his father's going to make sure he didn't he focuses on them. And that's a topic that I think is interesting, because we were just talking about, like, a lot of times it's the superstar dad, their son isn't as good. Like Scottie Pippen, why wasn't Scottie Pippen Jr. a better player, right? John Stockton,
But
yeah,
but his youngest son is better than the older brother
right,
that's currently
right.
at Sierra Canyon.
John Stockton, his son, it's like he was a great player, but it just didn't translate. And maybe that might be just because John Stockton was teaching him skill sets that are outdated in today's NBA. So it's interesting when you look at that. But I definitely want to ask you guys, is there a combination where you guys look at it and you're like, maybe you're disappointed that that player didn't turn out better because of their dad?
I don't think there's anybody that didn't turn out better because of their dad. If you look at them and you're comparing it, I mean, the easiest, quickest one that comes to mind is Jordan had no kids in the league, right? His
Yeah, I know that, but I'm gonna say guys who are like you would have expected more, just because maybe their dad was such a high IQ player, or super athlete. You would have expected the son to have some of that.
Well, that's Jordan's kid. I mean, your dad is the greatest of all time, and you don't even get a shot at
In
the NBA.
in on this list though, Omar, I'm not talking guys who didn't make it. I'm talking about guys on this list.
I'm gonna say because Magic Johnson's son was.
I mean, he's definitely playing with balls, so
I
he's good.
mean, the hardest thing is, like, we're watching Tyrese Halliburton right now, and we're like, dude, this should have been Magic's son, right? Like, this should have been. This is what we were all hoping
You
for.
know what? We forgot Wilt Chamberlain, Otto Porter Jr.
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Because then you go Jordan and Jimmy
I mean,
Butler.
that could even be his grandson at this point, Omar.
We're not doing all that.
But
Rick
I
Barry.
think
We didn't talk a lot about the Berries.
I was gonna mention they're my favorite father-son duo, and there's a reason why.
Rick Barry was,
A stud.
and Rick Barry was better than both Brent and John.
Yeah, he
I
was.
think you
There
go
was
through.
one more. There was three of them.
Yeah, well, Brent and John are the only ones that count.
Yeah, well, there was three of them. I'm just mentioning that.
But exactly, you don't know his name either because only two
I
of
can't
them.
remember at this point.
They didn't even get listed on this list. So
Yeah,
um, you go through this list, and a lot of these guys are better than their dad as you go down. But those first couple, like Greg Anthony, is better than Cole Anthony.
yeah.
oh, definitely.
John Stockton's better than his son too.
Manute Bol was
Well,
better.
I would say Glenn Rice Jr. didn't pan out compared to what his dad did. Glenn Rice.
Right.
Uh,
The Berries are my favorite one because I actually met Rick Barry, and he's a character, a lot like Jerry West, and like every other word's a curse word. Like every other word's a curse word with both of them. It kind of like I tried really hard to cut back on the cursing here, but you guys know me outside of this. Like unless I'm like around kids or women, like if I'm just hanging out with the guys or with my brother Dino when he was growing up, like I was riding them pretty hard with like how I treat them, yelling at them, screaming at them, cursing at them. I was
You were
pretty.
doing what?
you guys got to take it easy today, man.
Yeah, anyway, I was difficult on my teammates.
Oh man.
Oh, I don't know if you and I ever played,
Pause.
or actually we did play one time, and I think that season I was just screaming at everybody.
Pause.
Me, you, and Sammer and
Yeah.
Anthony were on the same team, and I literally probably had 3 aneurysms that season.
Oh yeah, I mean it was the worst team I've probably ever been part of.
Ironically, Bra assembled that team. So shout out to my boy.
Yeah,
Bra.
and we were supposed to be the D1 players that were going to win D2.
Yeah, you guys got trampled. Patrick Ewing was better than his. I would expect more from Patrick Ewing Jr., right?
I didn't even know his son played, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Until I just saw this list, so he made it there. And since none of the three of us knew who he was, especially Zico, I would have expected more from him.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't know his son played.
Yeah, I actually was going to mention that when I brought up the Glenn Rice, because Patrick Ewing Jr. I believe he played at Michigan. He didn't play at Georgetown. I don't think he followed his father. I think he was at Michigan, or was it Georgetown?
Al Horford's better than his dad. Which Ron Harper are you going with?
Oh well, the son right now is still playing in the G League, I believe, right? So he hasn't, but he's very talented.
Tim Hardaway and Tim Hardaway Jr.
Did you hear about this? Did you hear about Tim Hardaway Sr. talking about if my son ever plays for Miami, he can't wear my number 10?
No, I never heard that. Why not? That's rude.
Omar was telling me that earlier. One father-son duo that I think probably is just imagine like being at the dinner table with the Waltons. Like, I mean, like we've all listened to Bill Walton calling games. Like, imagine like just being in that home where like you're at the dinner table and like story time comes along and here goes Dad. He's on one of his rants.
Well, I think they smoke a bowl before they eat dinner.
Well, I know Bill Walton does, but I don't know. Like Luke just looks like the kind of guy to me that like doesn't. Like I could see his mom being like, "No, I don't want him doing that," and like him not doing it.
Luke's the kid who was like, "Ah, my parents do that too much. I don't want to do that."
Right, right.
What about the Nances? Larry Nance and Larry Nance Jr.
Super athletes. Like
Yeah.
that's probably the one like combination where I look at as like the athleticism translated along with the Brewers. Both of them were like elite defenders and like it translated the same game, like translated from one to the other. But Larry Nance and his dad were both power forwards, elite athletes, dunk contest type of, big men. So
Yeah.
that's a good combination too.
I mean, I'm haven't named half of this list. It's crazy how many people are on here.
Yeah, I know. It really is. Gary Trent Jr. That's an interesting one too, just because Gary Trent was such a big guy, big stocky guy. Here comes Gary Trent Jr. 's long, lean shooter. I did
Yeah.
not know that Wally Zerbiak's dad played in the NBA. I had no clue. One guy who Omar's obviously stepped away for a second. One guy who obviously since I'm bulk and I love watching back in the day was Peja. And his son is playing for Stanford right now. He's going to be a hell of a shooter. They're saying he's could probably make an NBA team, so he's going to be another combination that will be fun to watch down the line. I hope he lands on the Kings and see him wear. I don't know if his dad will let him wear his number or not, but
I don't think dads have a say because they're not owners of the organization, right?
of course. But like, how many times like Michael Thompson begged the Lakers to draft his son. He was going to come out early and probably would have been like a late first round, early second round pick, and the Lakers had passed. And then the very next year, I think Clay was top 10 pick. So I know there's dads that do try and force that. I know Cole Anthony's dad really wanted him on the Knicks.
I mean, pretty sure LeBron's going to try to force that.
Right. So I think there's definitely like for players that have a pool like in that organization, I'm sure there's ways they could try and funnel it. But
going back to anyone, Pat Riley's the type of dude that would just be like, "Here, you're wearing your dad's number."
yeah, like don't disappoint him or
he would unretire Dwayne Wade's number so Dwayne Wade's kid, another one who's not going to play in the league, could.
Yeah. Omar, are you okay over there?
Omar's good. He's got his steps in. He's got to give him a minute. But
Yeah, I'm good.
I mean, we started this talking about LeBron and Bronny, and they'll be the first ones if it does happen to play together.
Yeah,
that's got to be cool.
absolutely. That's I mean, Mike, you're obviously someone who started having kids early, like, right? Like it could happen that like you play in OCBL with your kids someday and like you're coming off the bench.
There you go.
It probably won't ever work out for me and Omar at this point. We'll be more like coaching from the sidelines. So
I'm hoping that my kids aren't allowed to play in OCBL because they have, bigger ventures that they're.
I hope so too. I mean, you know, who knows if OCBL will even be around at that point. So we'll see.
That's a terrible thing to say.
I mean, like we could outgrow ourselves and go bigger.
Oh, okay, okay.
Who knows
Well,
what we called at that point? Someone might buy us out. Juror League of the OC.
there you go. Uh-oh, Omar's back, ready to go.
Omar's back.
Yeah, I'm back.
Got his 10K in.
11.
There you go. Good job, Omar. I could see the sweat glistening off of your forehead.
That's
Yeah,
hard.
definitely.
That's crazy.
One last father-son combination I want to talk about because there cannot be an episode where we don't talk about Kobe.
Yeah, but his dad he wasn't.
I know. It's this is actually the opposite of the conversation, the spectrum. And I think this goes for Steph as well. Kobe's dad was I think it was like 10 points, 6 rebound player a game type of player. Wasn't anything great. Obviously Del Curry was better, but imagine being the dad who plays in the NBA and your son comes out and becomes one of the best players ever. Imagine that feeling of like you accomplished something and you did something, and here's your kid comes out there and just goes above and beyond. Like I think that's another one of those like every dad's dream type of scenarios where,
I think there's no father that doesn't want their son to be better than them.
of course. Oh
And
no, no, actually, I don't think that. Actually, I think there's some dads who are uh, you'll never be better than me attitudes where like they want to beat everybody. Like I don't think Jordan wants his kids to be better than him. I think he's competitive. I think Kobe would have been like that. He wants them to be good, but you're not beating me. You will never beat me. That's the mentality they have. So some
that's
dads, but I think LeBron's like that too. I think he wants his kids to be good, but I don't think he ever wants them in the conversation with him.
I don't think it's that's a different mindset. I think that, and we'll just use LeBron as the example because he's here and relevant. I think LeBron more than anything wants his kids to be better than him. I don't think he'll say they're better than him. He'll never let them know that. He'll challenge them and say, "Hey, you can't beat me. I'm better than you." But
Yeah,
he wants them better.
being great and being better than me are two conversations.
Yeah, I think that all of these parents, I think parents in general, I mean, people who are actually parents to their children want them to be better and more successful than they were. I would think.
I think it's a different conversation when you're talking about GOAT. Again, like when it comes to that conversation, greatest of all time, I think it's a little different. There's this pride aspect of I don't want to be a great, I want to be a legend. And like I feel like with certain guys like Kobe, LeBron, Jordan, I don't think they want anyone to ever pass them.
Yeah, I think they'd be fine if it was their kids. I don't think they want other people to pass them, but I just that's just me. I don't know. I don't know where they're at. I mean, obviously, you look at other sports and you hear other people talk about it, and the easiest one is baseball with Ken Griffey and Ken Griffey Jr. Ken Griffey was always there supporting Junior to be better than him, saying he was and doing all that. And obviously, that's not a GOAT, right? It's different, but I think you look at most parents, and I realistically think that if it gets there with LeBron, he'll eventually say that, hey, Bryce has the opportunity to be more than I was. I don't think Bronny's there. I don't think Bronny will ever get there. I said that earlier. So I don't think LeBron's going to be the type who would lie and say, oh, no, he's better than I was. But if he gets there, I think even if he doesn't get there, I think he would want that for his child. Right? I mean, even LeVar Ball saying he could beat Michael Jordan. He never once said that he's better than his kids.
Yeah, I know. I agree with that. I just I still feel like there's an aspect of the top of that hill that there's not enough room for everybody, and this one you're not. You could have everything else, this one you're not getting, kind of thing when it comes to the talk conversation of GOAT. So uh maybe he wouldn't admit it. I just don't. I think all three of those guys in particular, those three guys in particular, it's just that mentality. They want to be better than everybody. So Wilt, the same thing. Wilt's the same thing. I don't think even if Otto Porter had the opportunity, he would never admit it.
That's crazy.
But I mean, take it for example, like Dwayne Wade and his son. You know, I think he probably crushed his spirits.
You think that's what happened?
Yeah, I mean his son was overrated in my opinion, but then even just the way their one-on-one matchups. You know what I'm saying? Like again, it just I don't know, it just didn't work out for the kid.
And that's okay. That's the other aspect of this. It's like it's okay for not all these NBA players' kids to make it, and it there's only so many players that can make it into this league. It's no surprise that not all these guys have their kids get there. So obviously you wish the best for all of them. And
But Zaire's only what? He's 22. You think he's done? You don't think he can get better?
I have not watched Zaire play enough to know if he'll get better, especially these last few years. So I don't know. I don't know if Omar has watched him play more since, the last time he's kind of been out of the scene. But the reality is most of the time those guys, when they reach that age and it's just not going, it's it's not an option at that point anymore. So Omar, how do you feel about that?
Omar gone. Omar back.
He's chewing. He's chewing.
No, actually, I just finished the jump ropes.
Oh, okay. Okay. Take your breath.
So,
Take your breath.
but I haven't watched him play lately. I know when Dwayne Wade became part owner of the Utah Jazz, he tried to give himself his chance with the G League team, but I haven't seen how it panned out after that.
Yeah, the last story here says he was waived in March of 2022 after he had a knee injury.
It's tough, man. It's but you know what? Like there's the other aspect. It's like you could go play in Europe. There's a lot of guys who've gone and played in Europe. Uh, Michael Thompson's son Michael is playing in Europe. He's still been playing over there since he left the NBA. You can make a great career for yourself, and maybe after playing a few years over there, you could come down and have one season where you get called up and have an opportunity to play in the NBA. So I think for some guys, it ends up being a development issue, not necessarily skill wise. I think Zaire has skills, but sometimes it has to do with like your body. Like some guys need to grow into their man's body before they could really handle playing in the NBA. Some guys need to learn how to deal with physicality, learn how to deal with injuries and things like that. So, um, there's always an opportunity. It really depends on that person whether they want to keep pursuing it or not. I know we all know a lot of guys who maybe could have went to Europe, panned out, didn't pan out, but they made a career nonetheless. So I think it really depends on that person and what they want to do. Omar, you
So
got anything else you want to add?
No, no. Are we missing any key father son duos that we haven't talked about? I know earlier I
No,
mentioned Kenyon Martin.
what we're actually missing is the fourth host.
Yeah, the four. Yeah, that's all. That's on me. I didn't coordinate that, and the one person I reached out to couldn't join us tonight.
And I forgot about the one guy I texted, but he texted me back. He was sleeping. But the one thing that it's kind of off topic, but I think a lot of people are going to actually like and subscribe to get Omar's fitness routine and to watch him. I think we may have that going as you just walk on that treadmill every episode. I think people are enjoying that.
Well, I appreciate the support, fellas. It is a journey. It is a tough journey, especially after all the injuries and the weight gain. But definitely, we talk about our children, and after having my son, definitely, it's time to make a change. Um, Especially, just running around the kid. You know that that plays a big factor. But I'm definitely taking it serious. Shout out to Marcus Bradley, who's actually been very supportive, understanding, and not one of those trainers that just go, 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 and doesn't understand that life throws obstacles your way. And he's helped manage through the stress and all that.
Good job, Omar. Keep going, man. We're proud of you, and we hope this is your year, man. This is the year that you get that Mamba mentality going, and make
I turned 40 at the end of the year, so definitely, it's that milestone.
There you go. It's,
Well, you will owe us 15 push-ups
yeah,
this
you
episodes.
gotta
I think we at this point we have to hold you accountable. So
yeah, it's 3 in a row. I
I
mean,
think Marcus would be upset with me if I don't hold you accountable. So
For the 15 push-ups.
yeah, you don't have to do it right now. You could send it to me,
Oh
post
man.
on Instagram. I can't see you right now anyway, man.
he's moving the camera.
You're gonna have to talk while you do it so the camera focuses on you. 1, 2,
3,
talk.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
Good job, Omar. Good
Yo,
job.
I don't think honestly I could do 15 push-ups right now.
What? Are you kidding me? Come on.
Man, I haven't done anything. I'm at it coming off the ankle injury into the broken thing. I haven't done nothing.
I've only played basketball twice this year so far, and like I could probably do 40 push-ups right now, and you're gonna tell me you can't do anything?
You weigh what, 140 pounds?
No, 185.
Yeah, that's nothing, man.
Yeah, but I'm
That's
5'11". You're
definitely
6'4". Like
Yeah, so you got less distance to push up and down too.
I have long arms. I have a 6'2" wingspan, so it's not like I have short arms.
Are we comparing your arm length to my arm length now?
No, but I'm just saying it's not like it's like comparably like it's similar since I'm shorter. I know
Oh,
you have a long wingspan too. Like you're what? How long is your wingspan? Probably 6'7", 6'8", right?
I don't know. I don't measure that stuff, but I'll start working on my push-ups.
All right, yeah, definitely do that.
I'm
Definitely do
glad I
that.
don't wear a jersey and I don't have to do any athletic event type push-ups, running. I mean, I might go run the mile with you guys, but I'll probably stop after a lap.
Well, I just run around my neighborhood, so unless you guys want to find a track, we could go to a track and do that. But yeah, running is good for you, man. It's good for heart health.
Yeah, I'll run when I play basketball. That's it.
You know what, Mike? It gets hard when it's harder to play basketball, when it's harder to get a court, when it's harder to get together with friends, when you go to the 24-hour fitness and there's literally like 100 kids there and you have to wait an hour to get a game in. So there's a lot of stuff like that that comes up where it gets harder to play basketball nowadays.
Imagine if I had a key to a basketball court.
Yeah, I know. Imagine if we had our own gym. That'd be
we
pretty
definitely
interesting, would it not?
that'd be nice to have open run.
It'd be really
I'd
nice
be,
to have it'd really be nice to have a place for our own league.
right? I'd be there right now, getting up
Yeah, I
shot.
know.
We could record from a
And imagine if there was a place to eat like right there where like we could like go play basketball and then like grab some pizza right after.
Shout out to our sponsor,
Massimo's
Massimo.
Pizza. Yeah, that'd be the life, man. Like and if only we were younger.
I don't need that part. I don't need that.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
I think what I meant is like being younger and having less responsibilities where you could just like go play basketball for 4 hours and enjoy your life and then just go get pizza and not have anything else to worry about.
I can
Those are the good old days.
still do that. 10 to 2. I'm ready.
Yeah, dropping some hints there for all the people that keep asking all these questions of what's going on with the league. So yeah. We'll leave that
We
up.
got some. We got some surprises up our sleeve.
Don't
Yeah.
ask us to
It's a
elaborate.
process. It's not gonna happen right away. So just bear with us, all right?
And we're trust the process.
Trust the process, exactly. I don't know if I should cut and skip that out.
Yeah.
Post that. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So I think after my push-ups,
Yeah.
you should have ended it.
should have ended it. Well,
Yeah.
I tried to save you while you were doing your push-ups because I saw your legs when the camera was on me, and so I didn't want when you're standing up like that to be visible. So I talked when I saw you starting to stand up just so that the camera wouldn't be focused on you then.
That's fine. But hey, I got my 15 push-ups in on camera. I paid my dues.
Good
Yeah.
job. Man. Good job.
Boston Green.
We should
So what?
definitely do a video where we do as many push-ups as we can and then start tagging players in the league that are not subscribing to our show.
Bro, I'm not doing push-ups.
Come on, Mike. You could do like 6.
I could get
10.
10.
Actually, you know what? There was like a study done like for men like that if you,
More push-ups, the longer you're gonna live. Yeah, I seen it
yeah,
all.
I know. So like come on, man.
Someday. We might look. I
Someday.
mean, I can't even get my fan flat. Like,
Just- can you go do knuckle push-ups?
yeah, I can.
Sometimes too. There you go. Hold on, the camera wasn't looking at you, Mike. Come on, dude. Show me the knuckle push-ups. Show me
We're
the
already,
you
we're
gotta
already cutting all this. I'm not doing it again. I already
do
showed
the
it.
knuckle.
All right.
You gotta be talking. The camera's gotta be on you, Mike.
So I'm aware. That's why I did it again.
All right, guys. We'll end the show right there.
All right.
Thank you, guys. Have a great night.
All right. Good night.
All right, good night.